Thank you very much for being with us. The fraud lawsuit that could cost former President of the US, Donald Trump, control of some of his most prized properties. It all went to trial this Monday. New York State lawyers are vowing to hold him accountable, while he denounced the whole case as politically motivated, as a scam, his word. The civil case, brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James, accuses the business mogul turned politician and his company of deceiving banks, insurers and others by habitually misstating his wealth in financial statements, basically lying about how rich he actually is.
It's a scam, it's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. This has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. Our country's gone to hell. So very simply put, it's a witch hunt. It's a disgrace. We have a corrupt Attorney General in this state. You see how she does?
Trump in typical form there. Lawrence Douglas joins us. He's behind the podcast, The Case Against Trump. He's also a Professor of Law and Jurisprudence at Amherst College. Lawrence, thanks for being with us. Tell us then, is there a case against Trump here?
There certainly seems to be. I mean, in a kind of preliminary ruling, the judge overseeing the case last week determined that actually some of the substance of the Attorney General's claims don't even need to be proven at trial. Trump had actually moved to try to dismiss some of these claims. So in a preliminary ruling, the judge already determined that the Trump company had committed fraud, had basically fraudulently inflated the value of their properties.
I understand his defense is that nobody got defrauded. He says the banks who loaned him the money made money. So as far as he's concerned, that's okay. What do you think?
Well, again, that's not the way the law works exactly. I mean, the fact is, if you violate the law and for some reason people aren't harmed by your violations, that doesn't mean that that's then okay. And you just can't play fast and loose with that. So, I mean, there's a reason why we have these laws in place controlling business transactions. And again, it seems like the allegations are, and already the judge has accepted some of them, that there was a fraudulent reporting, basically an exaggeration of the wealth for the purposes of securing both insurance and bank loans on more favorable rates.
You've set up my third question for me, Lawrence, perfectly. Is there an issue here that Trump thinks that there are basically a set of rules for you and I and anyone else, and a different set of rules for him? Is that what this is all about, the crux of the matter?
Well, again, it does seem that, I mean, if you look at his entire business career and also his career as a politician, he plays very fast and loose with rules. And that anytime anyone tries to hold him to account, he accuses them of simply engaging in a partisan score settling or engaging in, to use his kind of favorite attack word, a witch hunt and a scam. I mean, he's already described the judge presiding over this case as a rogue judge and as deranged. And he's also attacked the Attorney General of New York State, also as basically being essentially a kind of a rogue prosecutor. So that's basically his modus operandi, the way he always deals with any type of legal problems.
Denial, it is a pattern, and we heard that in the sound, in the excerpt we had from Trump speaking a little earlier before we began our conversation, Lawrence. In many ways, some people might see what Trump is doing as a sort of perversion of the American dream. I'm wondering, though, will his support base care at all about this? And will the Republican Party care about it? Because it seems that basically they all seem to be a bit too far gone at this stage.
Well, again, it really seems to underscore a real problem with our politics at this moment, particularly within the Republican Party. One would have thought that this kind of blizzard of legal problems that Trump is confronting would really damage him politically and discredit him politically. One would think that any other generation, or really with any other kind of politician, these type of allegations would be pretty fatal. But Trump has been, part of his unfortunate destructive political genius is the ability to turn allegations to his favor, basically to use all allegations of wrongdoing against him as evidence, as kind of evidence that these are just people trying to settle political scores with him. And he actually uses them as a very effective fundraising tool. We see that he's been able to basically parlay the indictments that have been brought against him. Again, this, of course, is a civil case, not a criminal case, but he's basically able to parlay them into a very fiscally rewarding fundraising techniques.
Lawrence Douglas, Professor of Law and Jurisprudence at Amherst College, and the man behind the podcast, The Case Against Trump. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Pleasure to have your take on the situation. And, of course, we'll be watching developments in this case extremely closely. And if we're lucky, Getty Lawrence back at some later date to give us more of his expert insight on what is actually taking place. Lawrence Douglas, thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us.